Hello, 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 and welcome back to you at another NFL video. Today, keeping up with the team previews, I've already done the Eagles and the Texans. Today, we're going to have the Chiefs. Um, Arguably the first team I should have done, if we're just going off the most successful teams last year. But I'll let y'all know what I think. And I'll be honest, my opinion of the Chiefs before I made this video and after doing my research and putting the video together, it has changed. It definitely has, and I'll explain what about it has changed. I learned some things this video, so strap in, get something to eat. This will probably end up being over 30 minutes somehow. So let's get right into it. Thank you for watching. All right, gotta go to the slideshow here. Okay, so starting off in 2022, obviously, Chiefs were an absolutely dominant team. And that was the first year after Tyreek Hill had left. He had players like Juju Smith-Schuster as the number one receiver. It was Isaiah Pacheco's rookie season. Everything was good. Everything was perfect. And what do you know? They were the best team in the league, and they ended up beating the Eagles. Well, Eagles were the best team in the league, but the Chiefs, amazing season, made it to the Super Bowl, ended up beating the Eagles in the Super Bowl. They followed up that amazing season with a kind of a shaky season by comparison. They won three less games than the previous season. Their wide receiver troubles post Tyreek Hill were much more obvious. Juju had left. Um, they didn't really have that much success last year at receiver. The breakout star obviously was Rashee Rice, but that didn't really the first several games, it was not as obvious that he would end up being as good as he was. So it was a very real issue early on. As can is the Chiefs' offense falling off a little bit? Guys like Pacheco, Travis Kelce, obviously were still doing their thing, but there was a real concern with the Chiefs' offense, and they lost some games or they should not have lost. They did not in the regular season, they did not look like the Chiefs that we have been accustomed to seeing. However, they put all of those doubts to rest in the playoffs when they went from wild card divisional AFC Championship Super Bowl 4 for 4, beat every single good team that they could possibly play, and ended up winning the Super Bowl. So an extremely impressive postseason following a kind of lackluster, disappointing regular season for the Chiefs. So back-to-back Super Bowl champions, the only direction they could go is down, theoretically. But in reality, I feel like they are still a very, very good team and have some amazing odds to three-peat. So let's get into that. First of all, here's some things that they've done that just doesn't even seem real. 11 straight winning seasons. I believe all of those are under Andy Reid. Nine straight double-digit win seasons. 75 and 24. That's just since Mahomes has been drafted. He's missed like a game or two in there. So I mean, I'm sure the record's actually different, but since Patrick Mahomes has been named the starter, like all the way back whenever, 75 and 24. So I mean, it's a ridiculous win percentage. Um, six straight years they've made the AFC Championship game. It's insane. And they've made, of course, four out of the last six Super Bowls, winning three out of those four. So everything it's mind blowing how successful they've been under Patrick Mahomes. But even before that, I mean, before he was there, they still had several straight winning seasons. So Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes obviously is the match made in heaven. So let's get into what they were so good at last season. And I was kind of shocked, to be honest, how well, I knew they weren't as good offensively as we have come to realize, but I really didn't expect that their defense. I remember thinking about this in season, but since it's been a couple months, I forgot about this. The Chiefs' defense really carried them at times last season. The Chiefs' defense was top five in so many different categories. It's ridiculous. The Chiefs were an amazing defense, and I think, in a way, playing a little bit above their capabilities. Don't get me wrong; they had a lot of talented players, but I don't think anybody, if you would have asked people to pick a defense preseason last year, I don't think anybody would have picked the Chiefs to be top three in total yards, points per game, and sacks. Like that's just mind blowing to me. But like I said, offensively, turn the ball over way too much. Their offensive line played incredible. What you have to do, the number one concern if you're a team with Patrick Mahomes is protecting him, right? Because he can make it work clearly with give him any set of wide receivers, he can clearly make it work. Just give him Travis Kelce and a good O line, and you'll be fine. They had a great O line last season, even with some concerns I'll get into. But yeah, pedestrian offense in terms of points per game, rushing yards per game, still because you have Mahomes, obviously, you're going to be an elite pass attack. But I would say it's it was maybe like the 10th, 11th, 12th best offense in the league last year. Not really all that impressive, but it was their defense which truly made a difference. Close to 60 sacks last year. And that's with, and we'll get into it. A lot of that is returning for the Chiefs. So now let's take a look at their depth chart and how it's changed. A couple additions here and there. So obviously, we know they still got Mahomes, but here's the thing: you got Carson Wentz as the backup now. Keep in mind, I think it was Blaine Gabbert before that was the backup, and he did his thing every now and then when he had to step up, even won him a playoff game, I think, a couple years ago. But Carson Wentz now as the backup to Mahomes. Obviously, you don't hope Mahomes misses a single snap, but I like that a lot for security purposes. You know, having Wentz as that backup, I'd argue he's one of, if not the best backups in the league right now. So that's a big addition for the Chiefs. Obviously, still got Travis Kelsey, Pacheco. The wide receiver core is different, but really just at the top. Hollywood Brown, big free agent signing. I'll get into him later. And Xavier Worthy, the first round pick who fastest 40 time ever. There's already a lot of pressure on him to be the Tyreek Hill replacement. And I'll get into that a little bit more, what I think about that. Offensive line, I believe, all stays intact. All five of the starters did play there last year, so I like that a lot. Added some depth through the draft as well. Defensively, though, I don't notice that many differences aside from the secondary we'll get into. Most of their front seven returns, I can't recognize any differences here. But the secondary, I will get into my concerns there as we get into this. Let me mention here actually offensive and defensive coordinators because I forgot to mention that earlier. So Chiefs offensive coordinator is Matt Nagy, and he is still there. Which listen, if you would have told me if you would have told me that Matt Nagy would, after the whole debacle with the Bears, would end up leaving there and end up going to the Chiefs. And really, if we're thinking about this, the Chiefs under Matt Nagy are more successful than before they were with Matt Nagy. So that is incredible to me. And I mean, you can't really hate because keep in mind here, it's not like he has all of that to work with. Isaiah Pacheco was like a seventh round pick. Obviously, you have Travis Kelsey, but the receiving core the last 2 years has not been impressive whatsoever. So he's found a way to make it work. Obviously, with Mahomes as your quarterback, you don't the point you need to reach to be great isn't as high compared to other places. But shout out to Matt Nagy reviving his career and winning back-to-back Super Bowls as an offensive coordinator after his reputation was drugged through the mud by Mitch Trubisky. So he returns. He is still the offensive coordinator. I love that. And the defensive coordinator, Steve Spagnuolo, he returns as well. He was the guy in charge of making them such an elite defense last year. He is also returning. So you got your quarterback, head coach, and both coordinators returning. That is so rare in the NFL, and it just shows why the Chiefs are so successful. They're able to bring back all of their key pieces from an organizational level. Moving on to more in depth about this offense. So Patrick Mahomes, what is there to say? It wasn't. I mean, if you're just talking about like the touchdowns last season and the passer rating, it really wasn't that. I mean, compared to you can only compare Mahomes to Mahomes compared to his previous seasons. It really wasn't all that good. So I think there were real signs being shown that the wide receiver that he was struggling to elevate such a bad receiver room, which is why I think they made two big moves in that Hollywood Brown and Xavier Worthy. I think they understood how much it was affecting Mahomes. Isaiah Pacheco at running back. Listen, I love Pacheco. I'm not gonna say love Pacheco. He's such a weird guy where he played at Rutgers, right? And the reason he was a seventh round pick is not because of anything else. He just straight up was not that good in college. Like I don't remember if it was like injuries, something or whatever, but he has been a better running back, even just statistically, in the NFL than he was in college, which is so rare to see. But he's been an absolute monster, and I expect this next season to be his biggest year. Like I expect him to get close to 300 touches, and I would not be shocked at all if he breaks the 1,400, maybe even 1,500 yard mark from scrimmage. Keep an eye on Pacheco. I really do think if he stays healthy next year, he's going to elevate himself into a higher tier of NFL running backs. You still got Clyde Edwards-Helaire. He doesn't really pose any threat to Pacheco. That's why I'm so confident in Pacheco, like getting a lot more touches because Edwards-Helaire, he was actually really good and underrated as a rookie. He had a really good rookie season, but since then, man, he's been a bust of a first round running back. Just not, has not been able to put it together. And his role, it seems like his role is getting less and less every year. So I wouldn't be shocked if he gets less than 87 touches next year. I think Pacheco is their guy, and he's a great guy to have. Travis Kelce, what is there to say? He's a Hall of Famer, first ballot, one of the greatest tight end I've ever seen because I didn't see most of Gronk's career. Yeah, Travis Kelce, he is what he is. As long as he's relatively healthy, I mean, as long as he plays like 14 or more games, he's gonna get 900 plus yards, five plus touch. Like he is that guy. We already understand this. The biggest thing is keeping him healthy for the playoffs, right? So they need him for the regular season, but if he has to take a game off every now and then, I'm not worried about that. Hollywood Brown, you know, I do think he is going to have the most targets, probably going to have the most yards next season for any Chiefs receiver. Um, because here's the thing about Hollywood Brown has not really been that good the last 2 years, especially with the Cardinals. He's missed like 8 games combined. I think Kyler Murray missed a fuck ton of time. So his tenure with the Cardinals was a failure objectively. With the Ravens, I think back to that season where he had 1,000 yards, but even in that season, it really wasn't all that impressive because he got a fuck ton of targets. Like he got way more than enough targets to break 1,000 yards. And if you remember in that season, he had a lot of drops. He dropped a lot of touchdowns that season that he broke 1,000 yards. So it's like even when he was at his best, he still had some real problems. So this is kind of a make it or break it year for Hollywood Brown. I think it's a 1 year contract. So on paper, you would say, Marquise Brown, Patrick Mahomes, match made in heaven. I understand that. I hope that's the case, but I'm going to be a little hesitant here. I have to see it to believe it, but the opportunity certainly will be there, especially early in the season. Speaking of guys who are going to get a lot of opportunities early, Xavier Worthy. Honestly, I would not be shocked at all if he leads the team in terms of receivers, tight ends, and total yards and touchdowns. I wholeheartedly believe that Andy Reid, Matt Nagy are going to push him to the forefront early and just get the ball in his hands whatever way possible. Like I would not be shocked if the guy gets 20 plus carries next season, just in terms of creative ways to get him the ball with a running head start, stuff like that. Xavier Worthy, I definitely think, is going to add a layer to this Chiefs offense that they've been missing. And I do think as a rookie, he is going to have a big role right away. Um, in terms of so, do I think he can be for them what Rashee Rice was for them last year? I think so. I truly think so. And I think on paper, at least, the Chiefs' offense has gotten better. It has definitely gotten better than what they were last season. Because I think Hollywood Brown and Xavier Worthy possibly both could be better than what Rashee Rice was last year. Now let's get into Rashee Rice. Obviously, everything involving him has to do with how long his suspension is going to be for the stupid shit he did this offseason. The thing where it was like punching a photographer or something, I think that was dismissed or that was like settled or whatever. I don't think that's going to apply to next season. But obviously, you have the massive car crash. He could honestly, is he not going to face jail time for that? The court system in America, honestly, I have no idea. If you have money, you don't get punished for anything. So I don't think he actually is going to do jail time or anything like that. But in terms of the NFL suspension, they go so light, but this is such a serious thing. And of course, it's a high drafted receiver getting into trouble with cars and shit. So I hope they throw the book at him because I am a fan of harsh punishments and making an example of somebody. So I hope he gets at least 8 games suspended. But knowing the NFL, I would not be shocked at all if this is a 4 to 6 game suspension. So I'm gonna assume it's like 6 games. So there is reason to believe because Travis Kelce has been injury prone, Hollywood Brown has been injury prone, that the Chiefs could really struggle early in the season without Rashee Rice. And if somebody gets hurt, they're going to be down multiple guys now. So the question is, can Mahomes, Pacheco, Hollywood Brown, Xavier Worthy, and Travis Kelce be enough to put up 30 points in the game? I definitely think so. I think it's more than enough. Even if you just completely take away Rashee Rice, I think the additions they've made, I think it's still a better offense than it was last season. So honestly, I'm not really concerned with how much time Rashee Rice misses. They're still better. They're fine without him. Great with him, obviously. He'll be back for the playoffs without a shadow of a doubt. But even if they do struggle without him, here are several guys who I think could really benefit from the extra touches. Maybe if Xavier Worthy isn't like 100% ready on day one, here are several guys who really I mean, so it's make or break time, right? For Sky Moore and Kadarius Toney. This is probably the year that they're going to make a decision on whether or not to bring Sky Moore back long term. And Kadarius Toney, this is a season to prove whether or not he can still play in the NFL. He had a horrible season last year, obviously. Got bent. Both of these guys, Kadarius Toney and Sky Moore, got benched for the entire playoffs. I think. Justin Watson, actually, here's a guy. He's just one of those guys where it's like he's a guy, a role player for the Chiefs, but it's like you would never expect him to be like such a big contributor. But 460 yards, three touchdowns. He is one of the best deep threats the Chiefs have. Like if it's a pass, like an obvious passing situation, Justin Watson's going to be on the field to stretch the defense. Like it's just he has been actually like a pretty big contributor for them last year. And then you got Mecole Hardman coming back from the Jets. Obviously, people don't realize this. Mecole Hardman was just straight up a solid role player for several years. He's a multiple-time Super Bowl champion with the Chiefs. So if we're just talking about recognition and chemistry and experience, Mecole Hardman is the guy out of all these guys you would assume to have a big role next season. He was there he played in the playoffs last year, so a three-time champion actually. So I'm not sure. I mean, they have eight eight guys, eight options, including Travis Kelsey next season to throw the ball to. And that's why I say it is a much improved offense. And I think Mahomes possibly could have one of his best seasons next year just because of how many guys he has at his disposal now. So, yeah, I love the Chiefs offense. I love the offense on paper with or without Rashee Rice. Moving on to the offensive line, I mentioned it earlier. All five of these guys played last year for the Chiefs. Four of them played over 1,075 snaps. So there's a lot of experience and a lot of continuity with this line. I'll start from left to right. Wanya Morris, he was a rookie last year. Nobody, I think, expected him to play as much as he did, especially at left tackle. He was one of the only rookies, I think. I think he actually was the only rookie to play an extended amount of time at left tackle. And he played pretty well for a later round draft pick, rookie tackle. He had a really good pass rating allowed, going against some really dominant pass rushers in his time. So, yeah, I think Wanya Morris certainly I would expect to be better than he was last year, given more opportunity. Joe Tooney, one of the best that might be the highest pass block grade I've seen for any interior offensive lineman. It's just, I mean, so obviously incredibly essential to have a guy like Joe Tooney on the line. It's a great offensive guard. Creed Humphrey, he's kind of already known as one of the best centers in the league, and the stats back it up here. It graded extremely highly in pass and run protection. That is what it is. One of the best centers in the league. And then you got Trey Smith at right guard. Very good run rating. Played a lot of snaps last season. I mean, I don't have any complaints here. Did not give up that many sacks. I would argue left guard, center, right guard, one of the best in the league. Absolutely. In terms of just experience, continuity, PFF pass grades, run grades, overall, they have it all. It's an amazing interior to their offensive line. Jawan Taylor, if you want to make it this, he was the worst, the worst part of this offensive line last season. This is not a typo. The man had 20 penalties last year. I do not know if this is accepted penalties or if this is penalties accepted, not accepted. If this is just accepted penalties, the man could have been pushing 30 last year. It truly felt like the man got a false start, a holding on every other play last year. I'm sure Chiefs fans definitely felt like that. He was terrible in run protection. And this is the thing, the Chiefs gave him a fuck ton of money last offseason. So it's like this is a potential to be a disaster pickup for them. But I mean, you can't get much worse than what he was last season. So you hope he could just get slightly better. But yeah, that's a rough thing there at right tackle for the Chiefs. But honestly, offensive line, even if it's just with all that being said, they allowed the second least sacks last year. So with all the problems they had at both tackle positions, it's still great on paper and in production as well. So I don't have any complaints for their offensive line, really. Defense here. Like I said earlier, guys, a lot of their established pieces return, and a lot of their guys who contributed to those 57 sacks, they return as well. So I'm very confident in saying they're going to be a great defense again next season. So let's just go down the list. George Karlaftis, he's played 2 years. He was a former first round pick. He has been absolutely dominant so far. Two-time champion, and he's a big time contributor as well. Like he's not just a role player. Last season as a rookie, or 2 years ago as a rookie, he had like 6 sacks, but like 8 pass deflections. He was absolutely great. Last season, he took a big jump from year one to year two, 10.5 sacks. I mean, it's looking like George Karlaftis could like be the guy in this front seven once Chris Jones kind of goes past his prime, George Karlaftis has a chance to really burst in to elite territory in the future. But you still got Chris Jones. With the retirement of Aaron Donald, I'm sure the majority of people would classify Chris Jones as the best defensive tackle in football. I think I would for sure. So Chris Jones, I mean, you got the best defensive tackle in the league. Can't complain with that whatsoever. Mike Dana is a guy who's been with the Chiefs for a while. He was a later round draft pick several years ago, but had in 2022 had kind of a breakout year. He had like 4 or 5 sacks, and then last year put together his best season overall, which got him re-signed, I believe. So shout out to him. I had him on my radar after 2022. 6.5 sacks for him, 7 tackles for a loss. So love to bring him back as a role player on the defensive line. Nick Bolton, one of the best stand-up linebackers in football, missed about half the season, which sucks for his stats, I guess. But he came back for the playoffs, played every playoff game, essential to helping them go 4-0 in the playoffs. You'd love to get him back, one of the best at what he does. Leo Chanel, young player, kind of had a breakout year, but again, limited snaps. They kind of use him as a nose down linebacker. They don't drop him in coverage very often. So I mean, 3 sacks for him, 3 sacks and 443 snaps. That's really impressive. 8 tackles for a loss as well. I think he played his role as a rookie very well. Drew Tranquil as well. He was a big offseason pickup for them last year, and I think he played very well. I don't think they were expecting Nick Bolton to go down. So the fact that when he did go down, you had a guy like Drew Tranquil there. I mean, the stats back it up. He was very, very good. 78 tackles, 4.5 sacks for him. He's one of those linebackers that really give you a lot in terms of pass rush. And if you think about it like this, you got Nick Bolton at one spot. If you combine Leo Chanel and Drew Tranquil, you got about 1,000 snaps, which is what a starting healthy middle linebacker would play. If you just combine their stats, I mean, what are we looking at? 140 tackles, 7.5 sacks, 15 tackles for a loss. They got amazing production last year out of that linebacker position. And honestly, Leo Chanel, Drew Tranquil, Nick Bolton, they might have the best combination of stand-up linebackers in the NFL. So I love that. I love that for the Chiefs. Their front seven is amazing. Here's where I have some issues is their secondary. So Trent McDuffie returns. Here's the thing about Trent McDuffie. I absolutely listen. He does a lot. 5 forced fumbles, 3 sacks. Those are amazing numbers that you don't usually see out of cornerbacks, right? So I respect him in that way. But he is absolutely getting overrated for his coverage ability. Listen, I've looked at a lot of cornerback stats, coverage stats. Trent McDuffie, he's not in that top tier. He's not even in the second tier. The best coverage cornerbacks in terms of passer rating allowed, we're talking like sub 60, right? Sub 60. And if you get a lot of targets, it's okay to be in the 60s, right? If you're a great cover corner, very good cover corners, we're looking at the 70s. We're looking at the low 80s, mid 80s, maybe. That's if you're a really good cover corner. McDuffie was in like the mid 90s. Like that's good. Don't get me wrong, but he wasn't even the number one last year. L'Jarius Sneed was their number one. So as a number two corner, being in the mid 90s, it's not that good. And on top of that, you expect me to believe that going from guarding number twos to guarding number one receivers, he's supposed to get better. I think we could be in for a Trent McDuffie exposed season, kind of like a James Bradbury situation where not not in the fact that James Barry he didn't really change roles, but Trent McDuffie changing roles now. I think the spotlight's going to be on him a little bit more now. I don't think he's going to be able to handle that pressure now that L'Jarius Sneed's gone, but he's still a good corner. Justin Reed, by the way, great free safety, amazing free safety. He played his role as the free safety on a championship defense very well. I have no complaints. 3 sacks, good passer, better passer rating allowed than Trent McDuffie. Like he did everything. He is the ideal free safety for this defense. Thumbs up. He plays his role perfectly. Brian Cook, however, as you can see down there, is absolutely terrible in coverage. He is terrible in coverage. He does some other things well. He got 3 takeaways last year. I'm not, you know, I don't mind Brian Cook as a starter. He's a young player, but he needs to get better in coverage because even going back to his rookie season, he has been terrible so far in his career in coverage. So, and that's just the guy. We have like what 3 or 4 other corners on this roster that just sort of I don't know much about. So they're unknowns in my eyes. We're gonna have to see what they do. Trent McDuffie's gonna have a fuck ton of pressure on him. Brian Cook, we know he can't cover. So there is a real weakness in my opinion. In the Chiefs secondary. So if some other teams, if they go against some real explosive pass offenses who know how to give their quarterback enough time, I think the Chiefs secondary is going to get ripped apart in a few games next year. So with all that being said, let's take a look at their last season, win losses, what I thought. I mean, we kind of went over it, to be honest. I mean, It is what it is. They lost. This is the thing. They lost to a lot of good teams. Like their best win last season was the Dolphins, right? But the Lions they lost to, Eagles they lost to, Packers they lost to, Bills they lost to. They kind of sucked in terms of matchups against other really good teams, obviously, until they got to the playoffs. But I don't know. That's something to keep in mind. They also went 4-2 in their division last year. I think that's going to change. I'll get into that. Uh, but I don't think they're like they lost last year. They lost to the Broncos. That's a bad loss last year. They also lost to the Raiders last year. I don't like that loss either. So let's get into it next season. This is my favorite part of these videos, predicting game by game what I think they're going to be next year. So let's get into it. Week 1 against the Ravens, I think they lose that one. They are at home. I understand that, but obviously no Rasheed Rice this game. I think the Ravens also have a fuck ton of momentum going into next season. Listen, it's a close game, AFC Championship rematch, could go either way, but I do think early next season the Chiefs are going to struggle just a little bit, maybe a little more than you would expect. So I think week 1 they lose this game to a top level opponent. Week 2, I think they bounce back again. By the way, against a very their opening stretch next season is not easy by any means. And listen, I they got to lose 2 of these games. In my opinion, they got to lose 2 of these games. They go against 3 great offenses: Ravens, Bengals, Falcons. 3 great quarterbacks, in my opinion: Lamar, Joe Burrow, and Kirk Cousins. There's just no way. I mean, they could win 2 of these games, but I just think without Rasheed Rice, with their secondary as weak as it is, I think they lose 2 of these games. So I'm going with the Falcons on the road. I think the Falcons on the road is definitely a loss. And I think you split at home against the Ravens and Bengals. So I went with them losing to the Ravens, beating the Bengals close enough. So I got the Chiefs starting 1-2 next season. Is it time to throw a what's it called, a riot? Riots in the streets? Absolutely not. I think they bounce back very comfortably on the road against the Chargers. Not a great team. At home against the Saints, not should not be a challenge. But on the road against the 49ers, listen, the Chiefs own the 49ers. They beat them twice in the Super Bowl. I think they just have the 49ers number. And at this point, maybe we see Rasheed Rice back. Who knows? But I think the Chiefs do end up beating the 49ers and what could possibly be their toughest opponent all of next season on the road. So I think they get that one done, which makes them 4-2. But I do think they lose to the Raiders. Listen, I think it's very possible that the Chiefs go 6-0 in their division next season. But because that so rarely happens, I had to pick one team and one game. I have them going 5-1, by the way. So if I had to pick one game in one team, the Raiders beat them last season. I think the Raiders got slightly better. I think on the road at the Raiders, I think that's a loss. I think it's the most likely scenario. If the Chiefs lose a division game, I think it will be this one. So I got them losing on the road to the Raiders. Then they rack off a massive win streak. Listen, not many of these teams, honestly, at home against the Buccaneers. Buccaneers not a bad team. I think it'll be a very fun game. Honestly, I think that's a Monday night game as well. I'll probably be tuning into that. But I don't think that's a very tough game. At the Bills, yeah, probably. But the Bills, keep in mind, the Bills just got a lot worse. Okay, the Bills got a lot worse. They lost their best receiver. I don't think they're going to be as difficult as they have been in years past. I think the Chiefs win that game. And then, I mean, Panthers, Chargers, Broncos, Raiders at home. None of those games should be difficult for the Chiefs. So this is their easy stretch of the season, in my opinion. Then I think their final 3 games, I think they lose on the road to the Browns. That's a good team, great defense on the road. That will be tough. I forgot to put the score of this game. I predicted this in the Texans Chiefs video. I have the Chiefs winning this game 34-31, I believe. Chiefs at home. Again, Texans, great opponent, but I think at home, it's more likely the Chiefs take this one. It's probably going to be pretty cold, by the way, so the Texans might struggle in that environment. So I have the Chiefs winning this one 34-31. And then at the Steelers, final week of the regular season, this could be a scenario where, keep in mind, Chiefs would be 12-4 by this point. They probably already clinched their division. They already clinched a playoff spot. They might have Mahomes resting. They might have Mahomes, Kelsey. They might have those guys out for this game against the Steelers. So I think, and this might be a must-win game for the Steelers as well at home. So I think this is a very likely loss for the Chiefs if they do end up benching their starters in their final game. So I have them going 12-5 in the regular season. Look, they play some tough opponents: Steelers, Texans, Browns, Buccaneers. If fucking throwing the Bills, Niners, Falcons, Bengals, Ravens. They play 9 teams that I expect to have winning records next season. That is a very difficult schedule, but fit for the Super Bowl champions. So I have them going 12-5 and in the playoffs Wild card round, because I don't think they'll be the first seed. I think the first seed will be the Texans. Wild card round rematch against the Bengals. They've played the Bengals so much in the last several years. Is it realistic to expect the Chiefs to beat the Bengals twice in one season? I think they're obviously the better roster. I don't know. Bengals lost Joe Mixon. Will the run game be the same? I don't know. They lost Tyler Boyd as well. A couple of starters, a couple of longtime starters gone for the Bengals. I'm not sure the Chiefs beating them twice in the same season. Divisional round against the Ravens, a rematch. They've played the Ravens a lot the last 2 3 years. I do think they beat the Ravens, not twice next season, but I think they lose the regular season, beat the Ravens in the rematch in the divisional round. And then I do have the Chiefs losing in their seventh straight AFC championship appearance. I think they will lose to the Texans 28-31. Close game, great game. I think the Texans will have home field advantage. I think they will have the better record. I think that will make a massive difference in this game. I think the Chiefs will have home field against the Ravens and the Bengals. I think the Texans will have home field in this game. That will play the difference. I have the Texans narrowly winning that game, which means I have the Chiefs going 12-5 in the regular season, 5-1 in division. The only bad loss, if you want to call it that, would be to the Raiders. I think they take care of it. They play a lot of bad teams for the Broncos twice. The I mean the Bengals, not the Bengals, I'm fucking tripping. The Chargers twice. I think the Panthers are ass, obviously. Like they don't like they play a lot of easy and a lot of very tough, in my opinion. So this is what I think it's gonna look like for the Chiefs. 14, 11, then 12 wins next season, make the AFC championship, but lose to the Houston Texans. Listen, that's gonna be it for this video, man. I hope y'all enjoyed. Subscribe if you're new. I will be back very, very shortly. 2 days, I think. Well, I don't know what video I'm actually going to upload, but you'll see me again soon. So thank you for watching. I'll see you in the next one. Peace.